Aloha guys, thanks for joining me again for another month of the West Hawaii Real Estate Market Report. We're going to take a look back at January of 2021 and the absolute mayhem that's going on in the market now. We're going to take a look at the sales data. We're also going to take a look at what's going on currently with inventory. So if you're a buyer or seller looking to do something now, what are you going to see out there? I'm also going to do a historical look back over the last few years' data, look at the real estate cycles, and then overlay 2020 on top of that. The purpose of this is to see how much real estate demand do we still have left, or have we basically used up everything that we lost when it went down during COVID? I think you're going to see some interesting data on both of these things. And then finally at the end, a fun little video, a moment of zen, if you will, some drone footage that I captured out over the ocean of some whales. I think you'll really like that, so I'm going to enjoy sharing that with you. But first things first, as you know, it'd mean a lot to me if you click the subscribe button and like the video and ring the bell thing. All those things help me with the channel, and I really appreciate it. So let's dive right into the data. In North Kona, we had 56 sales. That was compared to 46 in January of 2020. That's of houses. For condos, we had 43 sales. That's 15 more than in January of last year. So we've seen a pretty healthy market in the North Kona market. In South Kohala, the numbers were a little different. Interestingly, the number of houses sold was 23. That's actually down 7 from January of last year. The condo market had 34 sales compared to 26 of last year. So when we add all of these numbers up in each of these 4 categories, we'll see that we were up a net of 26 units compared to January of 2020. So we're still seeing a lot of demand. I think that demand could actually be a lot higher if we had more inventory, and we'll get to that in a moment. In terms of the median price, we're still seeing some really big numbers. The North Kona residential median price was $822,500. That was an increase of 10.4%. Condos were $394,500. That was barely over 1%, so that's really interesting. In the South Kohala market, the median home price was $725,000. So while we saw fewer sales, we did see the prices go up. That's 3.2% increase over January of last year. And condos, $687,500, an increase of 8.7%. Now, one piece of data that I don't look at very often, or I don't report it very often, but I do keep up with it, is total sales volume. So basically, this is median price times the units sold. We see some really interesting numbers this time. The North Kona residential market, the total dollars spent was over $91 million. That's 85% higher than January of last year. Condos, $42,400,000 spent. That's an increase of 141% over last year. So we're seeing a ton of money pour into this market right now. Now let's take a look at the inventory, and these numbers are truly mind-blowing to me. So the data that I'm going to report to you right now, this concerns houses and condos either listed for $1 million or less or sold for $1 million or less. So this is one segment of the market, $1 million and under. We had, for North Kona and South Kohala, 51 sales in January of 2021 that were under $1 million. Right now, we only have 27 active listings under $1 million. That means our inventory is 0.52 months, so basically 2 weeks. Last month, that inventory was almost a month. It was 0.98, so we've seen the inventory absolutely get slashed. We only have 103 units in escrow right now that fit that category. Last month, we had 117 in escrow. So again, the lack of supply is starting to mean that we don't have as many sales. Things get a little bit better on the condo side of things. Last month, 51 sales. We have 79 active listings right now, so that's a little bit better. 1.5 months of inventory, and that's why you're starting to see a lot of the movement go over to the condo market, because there's just something to buy there. But even that number is decreasing a lot. It was 2.85 months just a month ago. So again, the inventory is really getting hammered right now, and it's making people wonder, where do we go from here? And invariably, the question that I start getting when I talk to other agents and when I talk to buyers and sellers is how much demand is left. So let's take a look at some charts. The first chart that you're going to see is units sold over the last 90 days, and I report them by every month. So At the end of January, we'll look at how many units were sold in November, December, and January. When we look at the February number, it'll be how many condos, houses were sold in January, February, and then back to December. And we're going to roll this along for a number of years. So the first number that you see here, this green line represents the last 90 days units sold each month starting in 2016. So you can see things start off a little bit low. That's basically the recordings. Those are the sales of contracts that were written in October, November of the previous year. And that's really our down season. As you see, we go down, go through the month a little bit. When we get to the month of May, we peak in 2016. Those are contracts that were written in February and March. And that's when everyone's here doing the purchasing. That's our high season, which is what we're getting into right now. So that's 2016. When we add 2017 with the blue line, we see a little bit more of a smooth set of data, but you'll notice every single month of 2017 was higher than 2016. So we're seeing each year things are progressing, at least year over year. In this case, we see some of that same seasonality, though it's shifted down a couple months. When we add in 2018 with a red line, we see something that looks a little bit more similar to 2016. But again, it's pretty easy to see when these sales are being recorded, and therefore you can tell when the contracts are being written. January, February, March, right up until about mid-April ends up being our high season. And 2019 with this purple line here, that's pretty similar to what we've been seeing. So we can see some pretty clear trends on here. Next, we add in 2020, and boy, does this look different. This is this light blue line that you see here. You can see the first couple months things are looking great, and then the bottom just falls off. The chart literally goes off the page and totally bottoms out. It's pretty easy to see that 2020 was majorly different, but then we see an incredible rebound coming back up. So the question I have is, what does this look like compared to those past years? So let's go ahead and combine 2017, 2018, and 2019. Let's average those out into one line and then compare that to 2020. And when we do that, we see this. The red line basically represents what things look like in a normal year over those 3 years. And then the green line, that indicates what happened in 2020. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is this giant void there in the middle with the red line on top and the green line on the bottom. What I want you to do is envision that being lost sales, right? So we have this huge amount of lost sales that we should have had, and you could easily argue that the green line would have been above the red line entirely in a normal year, because every year things seem to be going up. That void, those are the sales that didn't happen because COVID began. And over to the right side there, we can see the spread between the red line and the green line, where this rally is that we're in right now. That's basically the amount of new sales that are being made up for. But if you were to compare the area of those two spots, you would be able to quickly see that we still haven't even made up for what we lost, in spite of the number that we have right now. And if you look really closely on the top left, you'll see a number floating out there by itself, 521. That line, that's the point for January, combining with November and December of 2020. So you can see that this year we're starting off way higher than we ever have. So I think we're going to make up for that all those lost sales pretty quickly. And now it's going to be about what new demand are we seeing coming in the market. And this is where things really change. You have to really get into the psychology of things. And we saw this happen after 9/11 as well out here. A lot of people decide to make major life changes after major world events. Some people will say, this is a goal I have of going to Hawaii in 5, 10, 15 years. And after something traumatic happens, they start saying, well, why am I waiting to live my life? I'll just go ahead and go now. The other thing that I think is a really important factor is that Hawaii has some very reasonable COVID numbers compared to a lot of other places. Hawaii is viewed as being safe. And I think because of that, you're seeing a lot of people move here. The other major factor I think you really have to consider is that a lot of the tech companies on the West Coast are now telling their employees, you can work remotely from wherever. And they were compensated based on a cost of living in California, say Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, places where it's actually much more expensive to live than here in Hawaii. So those folks can now come here to Hawaii, buy a place for less, go to work at 4 or 5 in the morning, telecommute, get done noon, 2 o'clock, and go to the beach. It's not a bad life. And I think we're seeing a lot of those folks come here as well. So I was lucky enough the other day to capture a mother whale and her calf swimming out at Kiholo Bay. It was truly amazing. I had my drone. I was a safe distance away. It was really a neat sight to see. Also, I don't have it on the video, but I'll put up some photos as well. One of the escort whales that was around came up there too. It was really, really cool. This is the time of the year when the whales are here. It's really fun to be out here right now. It's my favorite time of the year in Hawaii. The weather's awesome. Nice, cool nights, even down on Ali'i Drive. You'll love it if you make it out here. We hope to see you again. I'll see you soon in our next video.